Roger Roth is a state representative from Appleton and a Republican candidate for Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District, which covers the cities of Appleton and Green Bay and much of northeast Wisconsin. He joins us from our Wisconsin Public Radio studios in Green Bay. Good morning.
Good morning, Joy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks very much for being with us. Are you related to Toby Roth, who was the 8th District congressman for some years?
Yes, I am. He is my uncle, and no question about it. He has given me some tremendous advice, I think, just from his experiences, and looking forward to parlay on those here as we move forward in this campaign.
Now, why do you want to run for Congress?
Well, when I look at the landscape, Joy, when you look at what's happening in our state and in our nation, this is an important time. And I'm running for Congress because we've got a Washington that is no longer listening to us. We've got a government that no longer listens to the people they seek to represent. And when I go around the district, and I've been everywhere in the 15 counties of northeast Wisconsin, we've knocked on over 60,000 doors since January 1st of this year. And I'm telling you, people are sick and tired of politics as usual in Washington. We've seen it with the health care bill that was passed. We see it with the cap and trade bill that was passed. We see it with the endless stimulus bills that are passed. And I'm running for Congress to be the people's voice in Washington.
What is the most important issue facing the nation today?
Well, there are a lot of issues. I struggle to find, to quantify them in terms of 1, 2, 3, but clearly I would say jobs. I would say spending in Washington. I would say the debt, the deficit, immigration, the war in Afghanistan. Those would probably be the top 5 issues I hear most about when I'm talking with people.
Mm-hmm. What is it that should be done that's not being done to create jobs?
Well, the one thing we're missing right now in our economy, Joy, is there's no confidence out there. People look out to Washington, and there's so much uncertainty, not only with the laws that are passing as people try and figure out how is this going to affect me, because there wasn't really due diligence paid into the legislative process to begin with. But there's uncertainty because nobody knows what the tax climate's going to be like at the end of this year. And small businesses particularly are holding on to their resources. I talk with them every day. They're looking to expand, but they're not going to do it in the climate that we're in right now.
So if a decision was made, we will not remove the tax break for those making $250,000 a year, that if we don't let that expire, then jobs would be created?
If we don't raise taxes, which is to extend the tax rates as they are, that would give the business sector the confidence that they're looking for. When you talk to small businesses, most of them file with individual tax returns, meaning that they're the ones who are hit. Our small business owners are the ones who are hit. They don't pay corporate income taxes. And when this tax increase goes into effect for those making over $250,000, that's going to hit them especially hard.
Mm-hmm. Are you in support of trying to repeal the new health care reform law?
Yes. I tell people on the campaign trail we need to repeal, replace, and reform. It's not enough to repeal, Joy. To go out there, and there are people who say just repeal it. Look, we've got to pass some reforms to actually deal with the cost of health care, which is why I advocate not only repealing it, but passing a reform package which centers around transparency, which is something we don't have right now, both in premiums and services. We need to allow insurance companies to compete across state lines, and we need medical malpractice reform, tort reform, which is completely non-existent in this health care bill as was passed.
What differentiates you from your Republican challengers in this race, Reed Ribble and Terry McCormick?
Well, I think we had quite a, when this primary first started about 12 months ago, there were about 8 people, I believe, in the race. So it's down to the last 3. And what I've been saying the entire time is still true right now. No question about it. The people running against me in this primary, I believe, would do a better job than our current congressman in Washington. But it comes down to having the right kind of experience, to having proven leadership, and that's what I bring to this race. As a small business owner, as a member of the United States military, 6.5 years in the Air National Guard, been deployed to Iraq 3 times. In my legislative experience in Madison, gives me an edge, I believe, to go out to Washington and lead on day one. And there's certainly some issues that separate us when it comes to immigration. No question about it. I've got a stronger stance, I believe, on when it comes to fixing our nation's immigration problem. We've got to secure our borders, and we have to enforce existing immigration law. For far too long, 3 decades, Washington has been talking about comprehensive immigration reform. Comprehensive immigration reform, Joy, is a code word for amnesty, and I don't support amnesty. And what the American people want is for the government to stand up and do its job, which is to protect the borders and enforce existing immigration law, and that's exactly what I intend on doing in Washington, being that voice. I think another thing that separates myself from my opponents is stance on the war in Afghanistan. You know, we've got a war that's been going on over there for 9 years, and I'm sure you've probably talked about this many times on your program through the years. And when I look at what's happening over there, we've got administration that doesn't have a plan for victory. We don't have achievable goals, and what we find now is that our military is over there and they're dying by 2s and 3s. And for that reason, I believe that we need to take our men and women home today, because it's not worth them dying by 2s and 3s in Afghanistan for a war that Washington's not committed to fighting. We fought a war like that before. We won't do it again.
I asked your challengers yesterday, and I'll ask you too, since President Obama visited Wisconsin yesterday, and among other things was touting green jobs and renewable energy, alternative energy. Mm-hmm. What's your energy policy?
I didn't hear the president's speech yesterday. I'll have to take a look at that to hear what his thoughts were. I'm completely in support of renewable energy sources. I think to expand, wind technology, to expand solar technology, to expand, the capabilities of electric vehicles, I think are good and important things. But that kind of portfolio will not substitute the baseline electricity that we have right now. The only thing that can provide us relief when it comes to carbon emissions and still give us the baseline power to keep our industries moving is nuclear power. And I think the fact that our nation hasn't permitted a nuclear power plant in 30 years is a telling sign. The rest of the world, from France to Japan, is relying heavily on the benefits of nuclear power, and I think that's where our future lies. For every nuclear power plant that you build is 2,500 temporary jobs over the course of 3 years. It's 700 permanent jobs that stay with for the life of the power plant. And it's $40 million that goes into the local economy each and every year. On top of that, we've got clean energy. We've got cheap electricity. That's what we need to do when it comes to our nation's energy policy.